Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, David.
Hey, again, very early, you always talk about the players, the jump players making their second year. How have Sam Williams and Jalen Tolbert specifically done this all season? What are you seeing from them?
Two excellent examples, both Jalen and Sam. I mean, Sam is really came on, for us, with, more opportunities that he was given in his rookie year, the more productive he was. So you can see his comfort and what we're asking to do and the ability to, schematically, move around is, some of the things that the defensive staff is doing. And Sam's, I've been impressed with Sam so far for the first three installs. And Jalen has made some really nice plays, particularly, in the 2 minute 7-on-7 and 2 minute situations. So I think both those guys are definitely making that jump.
Mike, Todd Archer with ESPN. You're a guy who says you like to be on the grass and practice outside as much as you can. I think you're indoors again. Is there something wrong with the field out there, or do you just want to?
No, it's just we're just focusing and so forth. We do have an issue with the middle of the field. So I just don't want to. Player safety is always at the forefront of everything we do. So it's a lot of what we do is based off of the drills and so forth. I think the new rules and factor into that. But yeah, it's the field is going to I think the first week in July is going to be redone.
Clarence O'For, Star-Telegram. A couple of things. Diggs and Hooker, are they back, and any other guys who may not be? Diggs and Hooker back today?
Hook. I saw Hook this morning. I haven't seen Diggs yet.
Has he been a part of most of the
Oh
session?
yeah, no, they've been Malik's I think has been here the whole time. Yeah, Diggs has been in and out. So yeah, no, they're having a good off season.
Is there any interest in DeAndre Hopkins?
I'll say this. I mean, obviously, obviously being on offense full time, I really like the look of our group. The vertical speed is definitely, we've made some improvement there. So, obviously we're not in any full speed type activities outside of 7-on-7. So you can feel that from our guys. But yeah, as far as players that are not here, I mean, there's nothing good that comes out of those, out of those answers. And and definitely, I mean, Hop's a hell of a talent. I had a chance to be around, his first Pro Bowl. So I've always had respect for him since his rookie year.
Aisha Morrison, Cowboys.com. Coach, there has been, within the NFL, there's a common thing that you want continuity with your offensive line. With it being a 17-game season now and obviously injuries happening, is there more of an emphasis to be versatile and just really prepare for those situations? Is continuity important but less of an emphasis right now just because of how the season is set up?
Well, history will tell you, continuity, it really factors in your wins and losses. If you look at the history of 5 offensive linemen lining up and starting every game of the season, I mean the win total, I don't recall the exact number, but it's a significant number. So I think I don't think there's an offensive coach that wouldn't want all 5 guys to play together because the things that they do, there's so much at front. But I think like anything, you got to really pay attention to the numbers. I think the 17th game impact is real. I have felt it, with our team. So the availability and the flexibility is, frankly, I almost feel like you were in our offensive staff meeting last night because we just had this conversation about the offensive line last night. So so you have to really focus on working different combinations, and that's why the particularly young players that can play multiple positions is a huge asset, obviously, because when you get down to it, having the 8 offensive linemen up on Sunday. So I think it's in my time as a head coach, clearly have been talking more about that in the last couple of years. In particular, if you look at our situation, we've had some guys miss games.
Watkins, Dallas Morning News. You said this is one of the fastest teams you've had. I mean, obviously you can't tell right now, but just on paper with the speed that you've had.
I mean, I think clearly Brandon and Turp. I mean, if you watch the way these guys jump out of their shoes, CD's having a great offseason. So, Michael Gallup can run with anybody. So yeah, it's definitely we're a turf team. We play on AstroTurf. So I mean, those are the things I pay attention to. I coach the grass team on grass and the team on turf. I mean, so I think it has to be part of your outlook in personnel acquisition.
Would you say that you missed a little bit of that in your first 2 years here, just that speed? Not so much of how you use what you
Haven't missed anything, man. We're happy as hell. All right? No complaints here. Not even about the grass, Todd. No complaints. So.
Dave.
Dave Loffenberg, Dallas Cowboys Radio Network. Mike, you obviously had Scott Tolzien as a player. When did you look at him and say, this guy's going to make a good coach?
As a player, I mean, the one thing that jumped out at me about Scott, I mean, you talk about work ethic and, and really what these professional football players have to go through, mentally, emotionally, and ultimately physically. But Scott's mental preparation from day one was he stood alone. When you go back and instead of playbooks and we went from the paper playbook to the iPads, so there's something that you watch for you got corrections and testing and things like that, and the thing that was always Scott was always the top of the list of how much time he spent on his iPad compared to his teammates. I mean, it wasn't even close, and and it was funny because I don't know if he ever went home. I mean, he was always at the facility, and now he's married, he has a couple kids now, so he's doing much better job. But he was always there, couldn't get enough of it. So you could tell right away, just his mental preparation was, top notch of all the guys I work with.
David. Mike, as a self-avowed grass geek, as you've talked to us before.
Grass geek?
Grass geek. When you're redoing the field out here,
I think those are off the record conversations, aren't they?
I didn't get into them. Is something unique to where the practice field is back here that there will be significant changes on the grass, or do you need to do it differently because of how it's enclosed?
Talking about the type?
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, definitely. You guys must be bored. Yeah, I mean, when you got buildings that have glass on both sides, obviously the heat on the one side. If you really pay attention, the irrigation system. So I mean, there's a lot of planning that went into that, and the impact that the Dr. Pepper building created to the practice environment. So yeah, I mean, all those things have been factored in, and my understanding, and I can't really comment on, you would probably know more than I would. We're on the grass much more in my tenure than past, so all those things factor.
And Mike, Pat on the NBC5 no grass question. Micah Parsons, we've seen the way that he has just immediately made such an impact in the league. Mm-hmm. What kind of a level do you see that he can still get to? Are there certain things that you see that, hey, look, he can take his game to a whole nother level, even from what he's done to this point, the way he's dominated so far?
Yeah, I think Micah clearly is at the stage in his career. I think individually he will always be extremely impactful, and that's why it's important for us to really stay focused on creating as many of those opportunities for him, and I think that's the whole conversation of where he's going to line up. So, and I'm just telling you from an offensive perspective, when you line a premier player up in the same spot, it's easier to apply help there. So, and I think Dan and his staff have done a great job of that. I think really the next measure of Micah being an elite player is how much he affects the game and the opportunities he creates for others. And you've already seen that obviously in the first 2 years. But I think that's the level where impact players not only affect the game with their individual production, but it's really them always being aware where he is will definitely create more opportunities for other guys.
And then building upon that, so many great players in sports, it comes from within, like they have that competitiveness. He seems to have that too. Is he just a player you would never worry about spending an offseason wanting to become a better player? He seems to have that from our perspective. Do you see that too?
Yeah, Micah's competitive spirit is top notch. There's no doubt about it. He's going to compete at everything he does. That's just the way he's wired. Obviously, with the athletic and physical gifts that he has, but his drive and competitive spirit is as good as I've seen in a young player.
Hey, Mike. Patrick Walker, DallasCowboys.com. When speaking about the offense, you mentioned speed. Obviously, that's headlined by the addition of Cooks, but you also have guys like Avonte Turpin, for example. Turpin didn't get a lot of usage offensively last year. Was a part of that because he didn't really have time to rest his body from USFL to NFL, and now that he has had that rest, could he be more impact player in that capacity?
Well, it's twofold. I mean, you're going to remember when Terp came to us. I mean, the timing of it. So, just what he was able to accomplish on special teams, really speaks for itself. I mean, he was a Pro Bowl selection. But now, and I look at him as to the earlier question about the second-year jump. I mean, he needs to take a second-year jump offensively, and that's complete understanding of the offense in the perimeter because, he's definitely a piece you want to move around. So, we don't just want to be in a position where he has to line up in one spot. So, and that's what we're working on now in the offseason.
Mike, at the combine, we asked you if calling plays were like riding a bike. You said, hey, we'll find out. What have you found out since the OTAs have started about just getting back in the rhythm of doing it? I know game's different than practice, but what have you found out about it?
The biggest thing that I'm experiencing is, and it's important, because you have people that you've worked with in that realm before that do understand how because the play caller in the templates that you establish for game plan, everybody's a little different. So that's where we're, really need to focus on here to probably the next couple of weeks and obviously through training camp because, we've spent so much time, scrubbing down the offense and getting it the way we want it. And this offensive staff has put in unbelievable hours in this. It's really like a first-year approach for us. And, so that's taken up a lot of our time. So, because the most important thing we do when it comes to in season is, we got to have the game plans tight. And you don't want to be wasting time, reps, still concept detailing and things like that. So I think we've done a really good job of that. But yeah, the biggest thing I'm experienced right now is just really getting everybody on the same page as far as the vision of how we game plan, specifics of our situational football, how it's tied to the game management component, because those conversations that we're having now will make our in-season process smoother. I'm not really worried about Sundays. I'm actually looking forward to Sundays because, as a play caller, you really get a chance to compete against the other guy, and that's something I've always enjoyed and always have tried to put as much time as I possibly can into it. So I am looking forward to that. But there's a lot to get done between now and then.
When you call a play, are you a guy get it in and leave the guy alone, or do you kind of throw some reminders to the quarterback
they're all different. I could go down through the years. I was still in the league, baby. When you still had, two-jet flanker drive, I still know the signals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you go through that phase of your life, but the principles of how you communicate to the quarterback to me are still the same, because the more work you put into the off season, the less you have to say on the headset. Because at the end of the day, the play caller, the efficiency of play calling is getting the play in and the quarterback having as much possible time on that 40-second clock. So, I always tell the story, you guys are right about it, but anyways, there's a story out there about just the efficiency of time of 3 or 4 seconds. If you can be 2 seconds faster on 70 plays, do the math. So it's that those are the things that we really focus on in the quarterback room, because and that's the conversations Dak and the quarterbacks we're having now, because today's quarterback, and really the longer I've been in this league, the amount of responsibility you give your quarterback at the line of scrimmage is really a reflection of where the play caller, the coordinator, and the quarterbacks, what page they're on. So I feel very confident we'll be on a high page. Dak and Kellen in the past, we did a lot of things at the line of scrimmage. So this is not nothing new. It's just how much you're going to do it and the efficiency of getting it in. Because at the end of the day, and I believe this, a clean, quick play call is much better than the perfect late play call. Because if I'm giving him ample time at the line of scrimmage, he has the ability to play fast, communicated, getting out, and we're attacking the defense. And he also has the time to make that check to put us in a perfect place. So I think a lot of that it depends on where we're at as where the quarterbacks are. So my point is, I've given the whole play in 3 suggestions, and the longer I've been in this, because the old system I was in was very wordy, and every year we were always trying to cut it down to make it go faster. And we're doing the same thing this year. Our verbiage is very wordy from the prior system, and we're trying to cut it down because I do want to get it to him as fast as possible so he can get going and have as much time on that 40-second clock as possible. But that was a long answer.
Haley.
Mike, Haley Sutton, DallasCowboys.com. I know you were really high on Mozzie Smith when you were drafting him. It might be a loaded question, but has he met your expectations on the field?
No doubt. I mean, and for a guy like Mozzie, you just, you can't wait to see him in pads, and he's ready to show everybody what he can do in pads. So, but no, yeah, he's, and I think, we said this during the evaluation process. We feel there's a lot more pass rush potential in his body than based on the opportunities that he has shown in his college career. So my point is, I love the program he came from, way he's wired, and physically, but his emotional connection and so forth. He's off to a really good start.
He always says that he wants to keep his excitement to himself because he's just ready to play ball. Is that kind of the mentality you want out of all of these guys, just to get out there and focus on playing, not worrying about kind of the excitement of being here?
Well, I think, yes, more than ever. I mean, I think what these guys have to do, and every organization is a little different, but to get their work in a limited fashion that you have them, and I talked to the team and the offense again about this today. There's a tremendous responsibility on our players to get ready away from the organization, away from the coaches. So much of what we do is, in the planning and preparation, but also forecasting for the 5 weeks off. So, and that definitely will be at the highest level with our rookies.
Mike McCarthy, Dallas Morning News. With all the attention that offenses are obviously going to pay Micah each and every week, is there any emphasis to be placed this year or being placed this year on mitigating some of the wear and tear that he experienced down the stretch last season, or is that just unavoidable for a player of his level?
Well, I think, once again, what year is he in? I think, that's a normal flight for a guy going from year 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. So, I mean, now he has an understanding of, playing in, 19 games. So, that's all part of his experience and growth. But yeah, I think we do a very good job in the rest recovery area of all the players, and I think the communication between the player and coaches and training staff and particularly our strength and conditioning staff is I like where we are there. So those are the things that really factor. So I mean, our schedule is always going to be a challenge, just because of the national games and the travel, and so those are kind of the things that I think about. I don't think it's just an individual player, in Micah's situation that it just hits him directly. So we're talking, not I've had 2 really clean years of what this schedule looks like. I think we definitely will be better in that area.
We're going to have to roll. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Guys, just a reminder, if you don't have your season credential, please stop by the security desk and get a sticker badge.